You are the castle commander, a moonless night. Silence. Too quiet. The guard doesn't answer. You send a second. He too disappears. Torches extinguish. Not from wind, but from someone's breath. On a stone by the gate there's a mark. Charcoal. Crooked. Not a threat. A sign. And in that moment you realize the enemy is already inside. He didn't break down walls. He didn't shout a challenge. He simply entered, like a shadow, like the smell of smoke, like a miscalculation. The Hojo clan chronicles recorded in 1569, 2 guards vanished an hour before the siege of Odawara. Their bodies were never found, but on the ground remained prints, not of boots, but of toes. Ninjas walked barefoot, even in winter. Samurai despised them, called them dishonorable, cowardly, not warriors, cockroaches. But here's the paradox. These cockroaches decided who lived and who died. A samurai awaited battle on the field, sword in hand, code of honor in mind. But a ninja had been living in his castle for a week, disguised as a servant, a monk, a beggar with rotten teeth. He knew where the commander slept, where the gunpowder was stored, where the commander's wife met the stableman. Honor is beautiful. But when a poisoned needle is thrust into your back, beauty offers no salvation. The Tokugawa archives don't lie. 70% of intelligence before Sekigahara came from the Iga and Kōga clans, the very ones the samurai wouldn't even want to see in hell. Imagine, you're walking through the market. An old man with a basket of vegetables passes by. You don't notice. A map of your castle lies beneath the cabbage. You don't hear. Miniature inks are hidden in his sandals. You don't feel he's been following you for 3 days because a ninja didn't fight. He eliminated the need to fight. Disguise wasn't a costume, it was a state of being. He could become anyone, even you. The Bansen Shukai treatise clearly states, "He who leaves no trace cannot be defeated." And this isn't poetry, it's an instruction. Do you think this is history? Look around. Who knows your weaknesses? Who observes silently? Who waits for you to open the door yourself? You walk along a dusty road into the heart of enemy territory. You wear rough peasant clothes, a sack of rice on your back, a scythe in your hands. No one looks at you twice. You're just another poor soul bringing harvest to market. But beneath that sack is a map of the castle's fortifications. And in your memory is the location of every guard post, the timing of watch changes, the weak spots in the walls. You have no sword, no armor. But you have something more valuable than gold, information. And to survive, you must forget you are a warrior. You are nobody. And that's why you are dangerous. According to the Shoninki, one of the main treatises on ninjutsu, the best spy is one who is not noticed even after he has left. Ninjutsu wasn't born in the halls of martial glory. It grew from the necessity of survival. Peasants in the Iga and Kōga provinces were not allowed to carry swords. They were forbidden to fight like samurai. But when wars engulfed Japan, they realized that to protect their homes, they needed to fight differently. Thus, from rural cunning, eavesdropping at the well, disguising oneself as a merchant, using the terrain, a system of espionage was born, the Song. Basic principle was simple. Survival was more important than honor. If you could steal enemy plans, why charge into attack? If you could set fire to a warehouse at night, why wait until morning for an honorable fight? This logic was alien to samurai, but it was what made ninjas invulnerable. Archaeological excavations in Iga revealed dozens of hidden passages beneath houses, not for battle, but for escape and observation. Here's a shocking truth. In 8 out of 10 successful infiltrations of samurai castles, ninjas didn't disguise themselves as warriors. They came as monks collecting donations, as traveling merchants with goods, as servants hired for the kitchen. Samurai checked every armed person. But who suspected an old man with a staff or a woman with a basket of vegetables? Ordinariness became their weapon, because in a world where everyone looks for an enemy with a sword, a person with a broom is invisible. The Uesugi clan chronicles record an instance in 1571 when a ninja, disguised as a blind musician, spent 3 days in a castle, recording the sounds of footsteps in corridors to determine wall thickness. But being unnoticed is not just an image, it's an art of movement, an art of breathing, an art of disappearing into thin air. And this is what ninjas were taught, not just to pretend, but to become part of the shadow. Imagine you stand in darkness. Your palms are dry, Your breath is slow, like in sleep. You take a step, not on the ground, but on its shadow. Ninjas trained to walk on rice husks so as not to make a sound. They learned to breathe in a way that wouldn't betray them with steam in the frost. They knew, a samurai listens to steel, and silence is their language. And in that silence, victory was born, without blades, without blood, without honor, only results. The night after the Battle of Ontake, Tokugawa Ieyasu is wounded. His army is shattered. Enemies scour every trail. You are Hattori Hanzo. Behind you is the future shogun of Japan. Ahead, 20 miles of enemy territory. One cry, one dog's bark, one wrong step, and it's over. You order the group to freeze. You hear in the distance the hooves of a patrol. You don't breathe. You don't blink. Your heart beats so silently, as if it weren't there. Because you know, if they stop for even a moment, you are already dead. And then you do what you've been taught for years. You become part of the night. Not a shadow, not a ghost, but simply an absence. The Tokugawa archives later recorded this evacuation as the miracle in the shadows. 30 people, not a single trace, not a single glance. Ninja camouflage techniques weren't based on magic, but on physics and psychology. They didn't step with their heels, but with their toes, to avoid creating vibrations in the ground. They didn't move in a straight line, but in zigzags, using bushes, stones, and fence shadows. They breathed slowly, in rhythm with the night wind, so that breath vapor wouldn't betray them in the cold. Their clothing wasn't black. Black against the moon creates a silhouette. Ninjas wore dark blue, brown, the colors of earth and twilight. The main principle, not to hide, but to blend, not to run, but to flow, like water, like smoke. The Bansen Shukai treatise describes ninjas lay motionless for 6 hours. Ants crawled on their faces. Their eyes didn't blink. The body, not a prison, but a tool. Imagine you've set fire to an arsenal. Now you're leaving. Behind you is a cavalry detachment. What does a ninja do? He doesn't speed up. He stops and scatters small spiked stars, makabishi, on the road. Simple, cheap, made of bamboo or iron. 90% of pursuers lost their horses within the first 10 steps. Screams, panic, pain. And the ninja disappeared into the forest, not fighting, not looking back, just leaving emptiness behind. Archaeologists in Kōga found bags of makabishi in underground shelters, entire arsenals of silence. But the true power of the ninja wasn't in escaping, it was in driving the enemy mad. Samurai believed in honor, in order, in fair combat. Ninjas sowed chaos. They didn't just sneak into castles, they broke the minds of those who lived within them. How? Through fear, through lies, through a war that couldn't be won with a sword. Do you think this is ancient history? Look at your phone. Who knows when you sleep, where you walk, what you fear losing? The war of minds hasn't ended. It has simply changed form. Night over Odawara Castle. Silence. Then, a clang. One. Sharp. The guards jump up. Officers shout, "Enemy at the gates." Soldiers run. Armor clanks. Swords are drawn. At the gates, emptiness. Only the wind. An hour later, another clang, and another false alarm. By dawn, eyes are red, hands tremble. No one slept. And then, the real blow. Not from outside, but from within. Fuma Kotaro is already inside the fortress. He has set fire to the gunpowder magazine, cut the ropes on the gates, killed the sentries, silently. It all began with one bell. One lie. The Hojo Chronicles call this night when the castle went mad. You think this is tactics? No, this is the destruction of reality. Ninjas didn't attack an army, they attacked its sleep, its logic, its confidence. Samurai relied on discipline, on a chain of command, commander, officer, private. Break a link and the chain turns to garbage. Ninjas spread rumors. Your general is surrendering the castle. They planted false orders with the shogun's seal. They staged fake retreats. Each operation, not for killing, but for exhausting. Not the body, but the mind. The Shoninki explicitly states, Victory is achieved not by blood, but by sleep that is never found. Imagine you find a letter, supposedly from your commander's wife. In it, a confession of infidelity with an enemy spy. The paper is real, the ink, the same as in the castle. The handwriting, an almost exact copy. You don't know if it's true or not, but doubt is already in your head. You look at your commander differently. He notices. Tension grows. Another letter. From one samurai to another. I know you're planning a coup. Dropped in a tent. Without an envelope. Without a signature. And that's enough. Suspicion. Quarrels. Arrests. Executions. In 1582, Takeda Castle fell this way. 3 generals beheaded for treason. 3 days before the siege. Ninjas didn't take the fortress. They made it devour itself. Look here. To break a will, you don't need armies. You don't need swords. Sometimes a comb is enough. An umbrella. A kitchen knife. In the hands of a ninja, any object is an instrument of chaos. Death doesn't arrive with fanfare. It knocks on the door like a beggar. And you, open it yourself. Do you think this is history? Check your phone. Who sent you that message? Who knows when you go to bed? Who planted the thought that your colleague will betray you? The war of minds hasn't ended. It has simply become quieter, and therefore more terrifying. You are a servant, hands calloused, back bent. Every day you comb the hair of a samurai who doesn't know your name. Today in the comb, there's a blade, length, 3 fingers, thickness, a needle. You lean in. The movement, like a sigh. Steel pierces the carotid artery. He doesn't fall, doesn't scream, just freezes. You remove the comb, bow, and leave. Blood will flow only a minute later when you are already outside the city gates. In Bansen Shukai, this is called killing without an echo. You left no trace. Because no one looks for a murderer in someone who mops floors, an umbrella in the rain, a kimono sash, a baby's rattle. All these are weapons. A ninja didn't carry swords. He hid blades in things that inspired trust. An umbrella with a sharp tip of hardened iron, a sash with a poisoned needle, a rattle with a hollow core for powder that caused blindness. Samurai searched bodies, but they didn't touch items associated with children, women, monks. Archaeologists in Iga found a monk's staff. Inside, a 15-centimeter blade, enough to kill, not enough to notice. The most terrifying weapon fit in the palm of a hand, a sewing needle, 2 centimeters long, the tip coated in aconite poison. A jab in the neck in a crowd. The victim walks on, thinking they were bumped by a passerby. 30 seconds later, paralysis. A minute later, death. The ninja is already in another alley. You won't hear a scream. You won't see blood. Only a fall, accidental, mundane. The Shoninki explicitly states, the best poison is that which resembles fatigue. Such needles were found in sandal linings, in buttons, in bone combs. Imagine you're walking through the market. Someone bumps you. You look around. No one. But in your neck, a barely perceptible pain, like a mosquito bite. Half an hour later, your fingers don't obey. You fall, and the one who bumped you is already 3 miles away. He didn't look you in the eye, wasn't angry, wasn't in a hurry. He just did his job, like a carpenter, like a baker, like you, when you lock the door at night. Who knows what's in your pocket? Who turned your umbrella into a weapon? Who is learning to be invisible right now? But to strike, you need to know the target, where the commander sleeps, who trusts him, who fears him. This information cannot be bought. It is acquired over years, through servants, through merchants, through silent women with baskets. The ninja network had no center. It was everywhere. Everyone, an eye. Everyone, an ear. Everyone, a potential blade in a comb. And while samurai believed in honor, shadows gathered the truth. Do you think this is in the past? Look at your devices. Who knows when you're angry? When you're silent? When you're afraid? Information is still a weapon, and you still don't notice the one standing next to you. A field near Kyoto. The morning of October 21st, 1600. A peasant in tattered clothes walks along a dusty road. A basket of rice, his cover. Beneath a layer of grains, a scroll. On it, 42,000 samurai. Gunpowder by the northern hill. Guard. Change every 2 hours after midnight. He is not a spy. He is an eye. An hour later, the scroll is in the hands of a monk. Another hour later, with a ninja from Iga, information flows through an invisible network, without a single blade, without a single name. But it is this information that will decide who becomes the ruler of Japan. The Tokugawa archives confirm, data from ninjas allowed Ieyasu to strike precisely at the weak link and win the Battle of Sekigahara. Ninjas didn't believe in luck. They built a system, multi-layered, duplicated, resilient to betrayal, peasant, merchant, monk, actor, each an ear, each an eye. Samurai looked down on them. Ordinary people, background, noise, trash. But it was in this trash that a network grew, one that saw everything. Ninjas infiltrated informants months before a battle. They collected data, how many troops, where the camp was, the general's mood, even what kind of rice was cooked in the kitchen. The shoninki demanded 3 independent sources for every detail. Only then, truth, information became a weapon, precise, silent. Without it, blood. With it, victory without battle. Imagine you're a commander. You believe in honor, in open combat, in the samurai code. But reality is different. More than 70% of intelligence before Sekigahara came from those who officially didn't exist. They weren't on regimental rosters. Their names weren't sung by poets. Their deeds weren't immortalized in chronicles. But without them, defeat. Samurai couldn't see beyond the hill. Ninjas could. And they recorded, and they transmitted. While you waited for a duel challenge they already knew. You go to sleep at midnight. Your weak eye is the left one, and you only trust the stableman. Honor is blind. Intelligence is not. But what if the network breaks? If the enemy is at the gates and there's nowhere to run? Then comes the time of last resort. Not in the mountains, not in the forest, underground, beneath the floor of a hut, beneath a stone slab, beneath ordinary earth, labyrinths, designed according to Bansen Shukai, ventilation, through hollow bamboo stalks, exits into dried stream beds. There one could wait for days, weeks, until the pursuit moved on. Samurai died with honor. Ninjas survived. Because in a world where honor demands standing, the ability to disappear is resistance itself. Do you think this is ancient history? Look at your data. Who collects it? Who transmits it? Who is building a network around you, right now? Night. A village in Kōga province, 1582. The light went out in the house, but inside, panic. The operation failed. The enemy is close. Heavy footsteps on the street, the clang of armor, muffled commands. A knock at the door, not polite but demanding. The ninja lunges to the floor, slides a board, disguised as an ordinary floorboard. Beneath it, a black opening. Dampness and the smell of clay waft from it. He descends, barely hearing his own breath. The air is damp but clean, thanks to a ventilation pipe leading to a fern thicket beyond the village. The tunnel leads to a stream. There, a boat made of pressed rice stalks awaits him. He has 10 minutes before the enemy begins searching the house. Every second is life. Every turn is hope. He moves in the darkness, knowing, if the tunnel is found, there will be no escape. And hidden in the walls are bamboo needles and traps with cave-ins described in Bansen Shukai as the last gift to the pursuer. Imagine you stand in this tunnel. Your fingers touch the wall. It's cold, damp, covered in moss. You see nothing, but you hear water drops, somewhere far away. Footsteps overhead. Your heart pounds in your temples, but you don't breathe. Because you know, the enemy isn't looking for traces. He's looking for sound, and in these tunnels, even echoes lie. Ninja underground shelters aren't pits. They are an architecture of survival, designed under the laws of physics and psychology. Ventilation shafts were disguised as bushes, stones, bird nests. Water supplies, in clay vessels, fired to a glassy sheen. Traps, not for killing, but for slowing down. cave-ins, thorns, false dead ends with poisonous fumes. Archaeologists in Iga found remnants of sulfur and arsenic in niches. The logic is simple. If you can't win, disappear. If you can't disappear, survive. Until there's a chance to strike again. In 1963, archaeologists in Iga excavated the land and discovered what chronicles hadn't believed. Beneath the floors of houses, entire underground complexes, hidden beneath a double layer of earth and stone, tunnels up to 30 meters long, corners calculated to dampen the sound of footsteps, ventilation pipes exiting into dry stream beds disguised as tree roots. In stone niches, remnants of rice, ceramic water jugs, miniature oil lamps, everything hidden so well that neighbors walked over death for decades and didn't know. This isn't a myth. This is the engineering of fear, confirmed by excavations described in reports from the National Ninja Museum. But the more often ninjas disappeared into the earth, the louder samurai spoke of honor, because every defeat they suffered at the hands of an invisible enemy was a blow to the Bushido code. Samurai believed war is a theater of valor. Ninjas knew war is the logistics of fear. Do you think honor saves? Look at your walls. Who built the trap beneath your floor? Who knows where you hide when the world collapses? The answer isn't in scrolls. It's in the earth, in that very dampness, in that very silence, where the last hope is born. Tokugawa Ieyasu stands at the window of Sumpu Castle. On the table, an edict. Ninjas are not allowed in official military units. But that same night, a man in gray comes to him, nameless, titleless, his face hidden by shadow. He reports, "Okubo Castle is surrounded. The enemy doesn't know that we know." Ieyasu is silent. He chooses honor or victory. Publicly, a guardian of Bushido. Secretly, a patron of shadows. And it is this duality that will make him shogun. Bushido demanded fair combat, an open challenge, death with a sword in hand. Ninjutsu demanded results, at any cost, by any means, any disguise. These two ethics didn't conflict. They killed each other. For a samurai, defeat with honor was better than victory with treachery. For a ninja, victory at any cost was the only honor. And in this lies the main tragedy of Japanese warfare. Because reality doesn't ask how you want to fight. It asks, will you survive? Imagine, you are a commander. Your castle is under siege. Before you, a choice, to die with a sword or to survive with a lie. What will you choose? Samurai knew that ninjas infiltrated their castles, but they remained silent. To admit it was to admit helplessness. Better to say a thief stole a sword than to admit you were outmaneuvered in silence. The Hojo clan chronicles recorded a sudden fire in the gunpowder magazine. Not a word about the monk with the bamboo pipe. Not a word about how he passed the guards. Silence. Proof of shame, not strength. Do you think this is ancient history? Look at your reports. What do you conceal to save face? Who knows the truth but remains silent? And yet ninjas won. Not on the battlefield, in history. Their methods outlived the samurai era. Intelligence, disguise, the ability to disappear. They became the foundation of special services, from the OSS to Mossad. And honor? It remained in books, in films, in ideals. Today, every CIA agent takes courses on Bansenshukai. Every hacker uses the same logic, not to break the wall, but to become part of the system. Do you think this is in the past? Check your phone. Who knows your password? Who watches while you sleep? The war hasn't ended. It has simply stopped carrying a sword. Honor or survival? This question hasn't died. It waits in every decision you make. When you choose truth or a convenient lie. When you remain silent to save face. When you trust someone who speaks beautifully rather than someone who knows everything. Ninjas didn't believe in ideals. They believed in results. And in this lies their strength and their curse. disguise, psychological warfare, a needle in a comb, a tunnel under the floor. All this isn't a collection of tricks. It's a unified system. Cold, ruthless, described in Bansen Shukai as the art of seeing the invisible and being invisible. Samurai fought with those who stood before them. Ninjas fought with emptiness, with that part of reality where there is no honor, only fear and calculation. Do you think this is ancient history? Look at your screen. Who knows when you hover over the delete button? Who records how long you look at someone else's post? You are already in the system. You just don't notice its walls. Hattori Hanzo stands at the gates of Edo, 1582. Behind him, the ashes after the assassination of Oda Nobunaga. In his hands, the life of Tokugawa Ieyasu. He is granted land, title, honors. But in the records, he is security advisor. Not a hero, not a warrior, just a shadow with a name. His name isn't sung in ballads. His face isn't painted on scrolls. The Tokugawa archives write, without the help of the people from Iga, the path would have been impossible. But without names. Because to acknowledge ninjas is to admit that honor is powerless. And Bushido tolerates no doubts. He remains in the shadows not out of fear, but out of necessity. He is living proof. Victory is possible. Recognition is not. The world is not divided into honorable and dishonorable. The world is divided into those who remain and those who are buried with honors. Samurai chose legend, ninjas, the next mission. And if history were written not by monks, but by lice in soldiers' cloaks, then the shadows would be at the center of the narrative. Because in the end, it's not the one who dies beautifully who wins. It's the one who leaves, who remains silent, who knows where you hide the keys. Do you think this is a metaphor? Check how many apps have access to your geolocation. Who knows where you were yesterday at midnight? Imagine you're deciding whether to tell the truth at a meeting, or better to remain silent to save face. You choose between honor and survival. Every day. In the office, in relationships, in correspondence. Ninjas didn't choose. They acted. Because for them, there was no code of honor. There was a goal, and everything that led to it was truth. Do you feel it? A slight tension in your shoulders? That's your own shadow, waiting for you to stop believing in fairy tales. Now a question for you. In war, real or metaphorical, what is more important, honor or victory? Write one word in the comments, honor or victory. But remember, ninjas never answered aloud. They simply disappeared and won. You are already part of the shadow. You just haven't noticed yet.